Beyond the pages.
Beyond the pages.
Good day, our amazing listeners, and welcome to another impactful episode of Beyond the Pages podcast, brought to you by Accessible Publishers Limited. I am Uchechukwu Nwafor.
And I am Oyeyele Oluwakemi, Ipemeshinegba. Thank you for joining us today on Beyond the Pages podcast. You know, on this podcast of ours, we are always giving you interesting topics to know more about. Today we'll be talking about editorial. We'll be going through the editorial pipeline, and this episode is tagged Bringing Ideas to Life Inside the Editorial Pipeline. We'll be unveiling some mysteries on how they work, what they do with books, and still putting it in the author's voice.
Yeah, exactly. We are very thrilled to be speaking with Mr. Akinmola, the editorial manager at Accessible Publishers Limited. Mr. Akinmola is a seasoned editor with nearly 2 decades of experience in publishing. He holds a master's degree in English from the University of Lagos and has served in numerous capacities in publishing, ranging from proofreader to top editorial positions. He possesses pristine editorial skills, which have enabled him to thrive in the publishing industry. He is also a member of Nigerian Publishers Association. Welcome, Mr. Akinmola.
Thank you for having me. I'm also happy to be here.
Thank you, Mr. Akile.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you for creating time for us out of your busy schedule. We really appreciate. So let's go straight to the business of the day. Sir, we would like you to walk us through the typical editorial processes at your publishing companies. How you create the initial manuscript submission for final publication.
Okay, let's start like this. Now, publishers in Nigeria have 2 major focus, 2 major kinds of publications. There's the general core texts, which you call textbooks that are recommended in schools. And I also have the general titles as well, which part of it will be the storybooks or literature books, if you like. First of all, the textbooks, before we can do anything on it as editors, we need to first of all get what we call a curriculum. This curriculum is like a guide. It helps the editor and the authors to have a direction on what the book should look like.
Okay.
Once we are equipped with the curriculum, we now look for authors, people who have vast in that area. The curriculum could be written in different forms. We have the curriculum for English, you have the curriculum for science, for mathematics, So we now invite writers in that field, get them to develop the materials based on the curriculum. That's one. And then secondly, for the general books, literature books and all that, the manuscripts just come in on their own. We don't ask for them most of the times. They just come in. And when they come in like that, as professionals, we do what we call an assessment. We assess the manuscripts. If they are suitable by our own standard, then we write back to the author, telling them that yes, your manuscript has been received and has been assessed and is accepted. After all that, so in this instance now, the 2 manuscripts have gotten to us, the textbooks and the storybooks. What then now is the editorial process that we undertake? Let me tell you that the processes are the same in terms of editing. Alright, what we do is just to essentially ensure that we read all the manuscripts of all kinds of errors, all kinds, ranging from grammatical coherence, trying to read the mind of the writers, ensuring that we put the appropriate sentences, appropriate expressions in the books, just to ensure that the books don't have any errors. That's what we do, essentially. Now, once we have done all that and we are sure that the books are perfect, to continue the editorial process, we now send it to a unit that is part of the editorial department. We call them the graphics department. Their job there is to do a page formatting, add illustrations, and then all those graphic things are done by them. Then they now send it back to us in the department for us to have a final look before we okay it and then we now send the raw file to them at the press for printing. Basically, what we do at that point is to ensure that there are no mistakes in the book. We try as much as possible to read the book of all kinds of errors.
So thank you so much for the insights. Moving on to the next question. What do you think are some challenges faced during the editorial stage? How do you navigate it to make sure that is this manuscript the author wants that you finally bring out to life?
Well, challenges come in different forms. Over the years, one of the major challenges we have faced as editors is trying to think for the author. You realize that some people just write and then they send to you as the editor to look at. Some of the expressions don't really present or project what you feel should be. Most of the times we think for the authors is a challenge, in all honesty. Having to go through a 300-page book and then you're trying to modify the author's thoughts. Because you as the editor, as the publisher, you know what works and you know what sells. If it's a book that you want to invest on, you have to make sure that you do your homework very well. You do a thorough assessment, editing, proofreading of the work. In the course of that, you realize that you'll be thinking for the author most of the times. But for well-established writers, we don't need to be scrutinized. That comes easy for us most of the times. But for upcoming authors, most times we think for them. Another thing that also comes as a challenge for us often is the fact that some of the authors or writers, if you like, insist that this is what they want in their books. You understand?
Yes.
Giving no thought to what works for the publisher or what is sellable in the market. They insist, oh, this is what I want to present, this is what I want to project to my audience. In that regard, what we do is to find a common ground where we can agree on something. So majorly, our challenges as editors has always been to have to think for the authors, most times authors insisting. Then also, another challenge that we faced back in the day was having to read physical books, physical manuscripts. That was where we were trained. They'll print out physical books for you, and then you'll be given the pencil or biro to edit. That was a major challenge for us. For the trend has changed completely now. It's totally different now. It's no longer like it used to be in the past. These are some of the few challenges that we face. Well, all of the time, it's amounts to setbacks.
You talked about back in the days using printing data. So now, how do you do it?
Technology has made things so easy for
Yes.
us. These days, we just get our manuscripts, we read online, whatever corrections we want to correct, we effect it right there on the computer. It even makes it easier for whoever is going to work on it in the graphics department. In the past, what we do is we begin from typesetting because the manuscripts were handwritten. You have to typeset first. After typesetting, it is now sent to the author and to the editor, who now begins to script, write, correct. Very cumbersome process.
Handwritten.
Yeah, handwritten, we will type.
And to take a lot of time.
Yeah, so that was the practice back in the day. But now we encourage our writers to send in their manuscripts typed via email. So once it comes like that, we just download, edit. And then, like I said, technology has really made things easier for editors now. There are tools that we can employ on the internet. For instance, we have Grammarly that we use. Grammarly makes things very easy for us these days. We just upload the manuscript on Grammarly and then it highlights all the errors. And then as the editor, you begin to pick, okay, should I retain this? Should I accept this? Should I retain this? Should I ignore this? And you also discover that you can do so much in very short time. So that is one of the things that technology has done for us as editors. In the past, in the last 20, 25 years, it wasn't like that. So I can say that the challenges have really subsided. Things are working well for us now as editors. We get our manuscripts online. We subject it to some rigorous editing online as well. At the end of the day, we ensure that we attain near perfection. We cannot say that our books are perfect, but what we target is to ensure that we attain that perfection. We try, always try, but in some cases, we still have some little foxes just escaping. Can't put that out.
Yes.
Some foxes still escape. Sometimes we get feedback from the market, so those feedbacks really help us to improve on our publications.
Yes. I've actually worked with Grammarly before, and I could say that I agree with what you're saying about Grammarly. It helps the work to be very, very faster.
Exactly.
Time is cheap, everything is fast. You can work like 2 manuscripts in a day using Grammarly. So that one I would agree with.
Yes,
So,
well, with Grammarly as well, in some cases, we can't say Grammarly is 100% perfect.
yes.
That human factor still has to be deployed as well. That's why they highlight the suggestions.
Yes.
So you now determine or decide if
Yes.
you want to accept that or not.
Yes.
But 90% of the times, Grammarly is right.
Moving on to the next question, Mr. Caleb, how do you approach preserving the author's original vision? What are the necessary changes in the reading, the marketing, and the access?
Well, I must have mentioned this earlier. You see, there has to be a synergy between the editor and the writer. It's very important. Yes, even though the editor understands what works or what is sellable, the writer may not know. Whatever we do, we always carry the authors along, or the writers, if you like. If the manuscript comes in like that, we look at the marketability, we look at standard of the work. If the work is substandard, at that point we now have to call in the author. These are areas we want to improve on. You understand? So what we do is, we and the authors, we meet at a round table. You understand? We need to agree. We do not insist, and then we do not also work outside of the writers. Whatever we suggest in their books, we let them know. You understand? Like I said earlier, we know what works. We know what we want to project in the market. So whatever we are putting in the books, or whatever we are adding to the manuscript, we carry the authors along so that they too will have an input. They must have a buy-in. It's very important, because we don't want a case whereby we make a suggestion to them and then the work goes to press without them knowing. And at the end of the day, it becomes a crisis. So what we do is, whatever we are suggesting for the writer, we carry them along. They have to approve. It's very important. And whatever we do as well, we do not entirely knock off the ideas or the thoughts of the authors. Don't do that. We try as much as possible to retain their mindsets, their thoughts in the manuscripts, particularly for our storybooks. A writer trying to develop a storybook already has a mindset. He knows his audiences, if you like. So he has written the work to suit that audience. But we as the authors, as the editors, we also have our own mindset. We may feel that this work is not meant for this age group. It should be meant for this age group. So let's tone down the language like this. At that point, we need to agree with the author before we can do that. And most of the times, we usually agree with the editor.
Yes, I wanted to ask, in a situation whereby the editor knows what he wants, what is sellable, but the author insists that no,
This is exactly what
they do. I remember years ago now, the guy, he came to my office. I already sent him an email. This is what we want to do to your manuscript. It's fantastic manuscript, fantastic story, and I wanted to change perhaps a paragraph or thereabouts. He didn't agree. He wasn't comfortable with it. But I was insisting, because we felt, no, this expression must not stand. He came to the office. Like I said earlier, we had to sit at a round table. So we sat at a round table, and then for some hours, I can't remember now, we sat down and then we came to an agreement. Now, if we had gone ahead to publish the work without his input, all hell may be let loose. We also try to protect ourselves. We usually carry the writers along. Sometimes, even when we are done with the work, we bring what you call a dummy and then send to the writer to review. They review it. Whatever additions, whatever corrections they want to recommend, they recommend and then get back to us. There's a very warm rapport between us and the writers.
So if the writer insists,
Mm.
will you now read the book
No,
for
no,
the
no, no.
writer?
If they insist, we always agree eventually.
Okay, you've not had
We
any
always,
situation.
no.
whereby-
It doesn't come to the point where they insist and insist and insist. If
Okay.
that happens, we have to return the manuscript. For instance, quite recently, somebody sent in a manuscript to us. We were okay with the manuscript. At least myself and my team, we read the manuscript. There was some content, some X-rated content in the manuscript. We discussed it with the author anyway, and he felt he had published his work online in that same format. But we felt no, this might not be too good to be used in schools. Let's tone down this content a little bit. We told the author. Initially, he was a little bit skeptical about it, but later on, he agreed. So we had to tone it down considerably. Although we retained his voice a little, we retained some elements of his ideas, so that it didn't look as if we threw away everything. We retained just a little, a fraction of his ideas in the work. So essentially, there has to be an agreement between us and the writers. It's always very important. Otherwise, it might backfire eventually.
Okay, thank you so much for the points so far.
Yeah.
It has been an amazing one. So you know that the world is going digital.
Yeah.
In your line of work, how has it affected your process, and what are you doing to follow the trend?
Well, yes, like I mentioned earlier, the world is going digital, and publishing too is not left behind.
Exactly.
As I've mentioned earlier, that we use Grammarly. Aside from Grammarly, there are also some AI-assisted tools that we have discovered online that we also use. Editorial processes have been made easy these days. Editing made easy, if you like. There are so many tools you can use online now to edit. Now, the effects of digitization have been very, very positive in editorial processes. These days, we now have what you call ebooks. You can decide to publish your book digitally alone without doing the physical copies. What we do at our organization now is, once we get a manuscript, we decide either to publish it digitally alone, or to publish it physically, or to do both at the same time. The digital world is giving us options, several options. As editors, you can decide to go to sleep and just upload your manuscript on any of the AI tools and go to sleep. And by the time you wake up, it has highlighted all the anomalies in the manuscript, and then you begin to pick. I'll retain this. There are some AI tools that work like Grammarly. Yes, I've discovered some of them like that.
Yes.
They work like Grammarly, and they're free. You just look at them, you highlight. Oh, okay, I accept this. I reject this. I take this. I reject this. So several of them. This is the future that people are no longer carrying physical books about. If you want to read a book now, you can go online to read a book. If you want to buy a book, you can go online to make your order. And then it's either you get the physical copy or you get the digital version of it. So it's positive in the lives or in the processes of editing or in every editorial processes.
I have two questions for you,
Okay.
sir. Should we call the editorial the engine room of the publishing company?
Oh yes, except you want to live in denial. The publishing department or the editorial department is the engine room, is the crux of the publishing company, and this is not debatable at all. There's no room for debate.
Okay.
You understand? That's where we manufacture books.
Yes, sir.
I mean, if you ask a publisher what he does, he'll tell you, I'm a manufacturer. What do you manufacture? Books. So where did the books emanate from? It's the editorial department of publishing. That's where the raw materials are developed. We develop the raw materials from there into the solid books in all versions. So yes, I will agree with you 100% that the editorial department or the publishing department is the engine room of any publishing house in the world.
I like the fact that you were like engine room.
Yeah, it is the engine room.
But what I noticed, you said publishing department, editorial department. Is he using
wait,
interchangeably?
very good. Good question. Let me now explain. Yes, it's something. The editorial department is to streamline it to editors. The publishing department is all encompassing. It comprises the editors, the proofreaders, the typesetters, the graphic artists, the illustrators. I can't mention proofreaders.
Yes, sir.
So all these people make up the publishing department.
What of the printers? Like
No, that's
printers
production.
It's not publishing the.
They are production. We call them the production department. But I'm talking about where the books are developed. That is the brain thrust of the organization. All these units put together make up the publishing department. So editorial is just a faction of the publishing department.
Okay, moving on to the second question, sir. You said something about feedback the other time.
Yeah.
So I would want you to elaborate on the feedback. How does feedback play in the editorial stage?
Now, feedback is very essential in our job as editors. As an editor, if you don't get adequate feedback, it only means that you are working in isolation. You're on your own. Feedback comes and it helps us to improve on our activities. Feedback come in various forms. You can get feedback from schools, get feedback from the author themselves, get feedback from parents using our books. Feedback comes from even the marketers, those selling the books. You understand? These feedbacks help us to improve. For instance, when we finalize on a book and it's produced, it's shipped to the market, been sold, the end users will look at it. Whatever it is that may have escaped us, they will find it there.
Yeah.
And then they'll point our attention to them. Editor, we saw something in your book. It's not right. It's not appropriate. Please, in the next print, please kindly help us. So this feedback helps us to develop and to improve. So yes, they are very helpful. Feedback from the parents, from the schools using our books, from the authors themselves.
Yeah, thank you so much. I agree with you. Feedback is truly invaluable in the editorial process. Yeah, so now moving forward, what is the globally accepted royalty ratio and how consistent has this been?
No, this is a very important question that most upcoming writers are interested in. What works globally is 10% royalty on net sales of the books.
Okay.
It's 10%. That's what is written in the contract as well, because we usually sign contract with our authors. Yeah. It's 10%. That's by global standard. Everybody knows that. And we let them know from scratch that once you publish your work, whatever we sell, the net sales of whatever we make, 10% of it is given to you. But there are a few cases where we jack up the percentage a little bit. For instance, if there are special projects that we feel will sell in good time, we jack up the royalties a little bit. It could be 15%, depending on what the publisher wants. So that is possible. But ideally, by global standard, it's 10%. And yes, we are very consistent about it. We pay our royalties every year to all our authors. So yes, it's a yearly thing. Yes, a yearly thing. Of course, we sell all around the year.
Yeah.
We sell around the year. So whatever we sell on your work for this year, we pay you 10% of it. And if you don't sell at all, we also let you know that we didn't sell any of your work and any copies of your book.
And when you say special projects, is it like maybe the audience, they are there, like people that will buy the book?
Exactly.
People are demanding.
Exactly. Like if it's a recommended book, a book that government has approved to be used in schools, we have the privilege of printing them. We could discuss with the authors. It's a totally different arrangement. You can now decide to jack up the royalties a little bit. But of course, the money will come.
Yes.
Definitely, we need to be able to pay royalties as well, and also to make them happy.
That's very insightful. So, moving on to the last question for today. What advice do you have for writers who indulge in self-publishing, and also what can you tell the unfamiliar writers about editing and how to navigate it into success?
Now, you cannot tell someone not to indulge in self-publishing. you will not get a good response from him or her. What we can say, or the only advice we can give to anybody who wants to indulge in self-publishing is to, first of all, be sure you have a market. You understand? These days there are so many online platforms where you can self-publish, where you can publish your work on your own. Nobody's going to see you. You just put it there and you're happy. But if you have some money and you want to invest on physical books, that's yours without consulting any publisher. The first thing you must know, or the first thing you must have at the back of your mind, how do you hope to market or distribute these books? It's very important, because if you think, well, I have the materials, I have the money, let me just go and invest. At the end of the day, you might invest on it, print as many as 5,000 copies, nowhere to distribute. I've had cases where authors will invest on their books, hoping that they'll be able to sell. At the end of the day, they will not be able to sell. The books end up as complimentary copies to their friends, family. Some even end up under their bed. You understand? So first of all, you must be sure that you have a market, you have a channel you want to distribute the books. It's very important. As publishers, we cannot discourage that. You can self-publish if you want, but just be sure that your marketing strength is there. There's a channel you want to push the books to. If it doesn't exist and you're investing on the books, you're wasting your time, wasting resources. You understand? And for upcoming writer, there's no magic in publishing. Once we have assessed your work and then we have gotten back to you that your work is suitable for publication, just one thing you need to do. Just be patient for the publisher. You understand? Yeah. Because you are dealing with a publisher who has thousands of publications to deal with.
Yes.
Yours is just one. You understand? So the publisher has thousands of manuscripts to worry about. Manuscripts and published books. So you as an upcoming writer, the first thing you should be concerned about is my book good enough? And if you are lucky enough to get such email from your publisher or your editor, Mr. So-and-so, you have gone through your manuscripts, it's fantastic, we would love to publish it. The next thing you should do is to be patient. Be patient and then keep in touch. Regular communication with your editor is very key as well. The moment we say the work is publishable, then they want it tomorrow. You understand?
Yes.
They want the book out tomorrow. It doesn't work like that. Although, ideally, by standard, once a work has been accepted, it takes 90 days to publish it, if all things work well. Alright, if all factors are put in place, it's 90 days to get the books published. But this is a system where sometimes we don't have power over some factors. You understand?
Yes,
so we always encourage the writer to be patient and then keep in constant touch with your publisher, with your editor. Someday you smile. I've seen authors that come to the office and they pray heartily for the editor. I'm so grateful that this book is published eventually. It happens like that. Once you get the email that your work has been accepted, just go to sleep.
Once you get the email that your work has been accepted, is the editor not meant to communicate with the person how long the person is expected to wait? Or is the person expected to just be patient without being properly informed?
Well, good question. Now, we don't have, like I said earlier, we don't have power over some factors. You cannot promise anybody, you can't give anybody a time limit. Okay, the work has been published. Let's hope that in the next 3 months it will be out. If you do that, they will hold your neck to it. But what we do is we ensure that we keep working on it, and then we keep regular touch with the writer. There's a regular communication. Once the cover is ready, we send it to him. Make your comments. Once the blog is ready, send to him. Make your comments. So there's a regular communication between us and him. Within that space of waiting and then the eventual publication, there's always a communication.
I think I have another final.
There's no gap.
You talked about self-publishing. And before, when we were talking about the globally accepted royalty ratio, you said 10%. What of self-publishing? People that you publish for, they go and market their book by themselves. How do they
Okay,
charge?
people we publish for.
Yes.
That's not self-publishing.
Okay, what's
There are some people we publish for, and then maybe they've been able to create a market,
yes?
maybe in their little community, in their school, wherever. So what we do is they buy the books from us, even those theirs. They buy the books from us, but we give them special discounts.
Okay, are they authorized to sell their?
Oh yes, sure.
Okay. So what's the
As an
difference
author,
between
you
that
can-
one and self-publishing?
No, self-publishing is when you have written your book.
Yes.
You are the author. You're written it, and then you now decide to invest on it.
Okay.
Decide to print it on your own without contracting any publisher.
You print it on your, but are you not meant to contract someone that will print it for you?
You are picking the concepts up. That's a printer.
Okay.
For instance, you now, if you're writing a book
Yes.
and you want to do self-publishing, what you do is you look for a printer. You agree on a certain amount of copies. For instance, you want to print 5,000 copies. The printer gives you your bill. Oh, this number of copies will cost you so and so amount. So he prints and delivers to you.
Okay,
That's self-publishing. He
so
prints
there's
and
no
delivers.
editor.
No, that's another thing entirely. He may want to contract an editor to edit for him. You understand? But in another instance, if the writer contracts a publisher,
Yes.
if he comes to us,
Yes.
now we'll do the editing for him
Yes.
free of charge. We'll print for him free of charge, and he still gets royalties. That's published.
And he still gets
Gets
royalties.
royalties.
And he
That's
still gets to sell his
He
book
still
by
gets to
himself.
yes, exactly. But he has to buy them from us.
Okay, after the processing, you have to buy it
He will
again.
buy. Yes. Once we have published the work and he has a market, he will have to buy.
If he buys the book from you
Mm.
and he's selling the books, how can you pay him royalties when
Oh,
you
is
are
it-
not the one selling it?
We are equally selling. He is selling and we are selling too. Yeah. But whatever he buys at that point, we give him a special discount.
Okay.
So it's a collaborative thing. These days, in the past, authors used to leave their books with publishers to sell. These days, some authors are very proactive. They are also creating markets for their books too.
Yes.
They are creating markets. Once they see that there's a market here, they've been able to get buyers. People to buy their books here. They come to the office, they buy with their money, give them special discounts. They sell, and at the end of the year, whatever it is that we have sold, we still pay them royalties.
Okay, thank you so much for explaining this, because before I used to think self-publishing is also when a publisher publishes for you,
Okay.
but you are the one that will sell your own book. Like you already have your audience, you sell your own book, but the publisher is publishing. You pay the publisher to publish for you.
Yeah.
You not
Well,
go and sell
I
it.
wouldn't call that person a publisher.
Mm.
If you're doing self-publishing, who you can contract basically is a printer.
Yeah.
For instance, now I have a manuscript that I want to publish on my own. Okay, I contract an editor from outside. Oh, Mr. A, will you help me edit this book? I pay him.
Mm.
You understand? And I look for a printer. ABC printing press. I give the file to him. He prints for me. He gives me his bill. I pay him. He prints and then delivers to me. So those copies, I'm supposed to market them and to sell them. But for publishing, this same person now, if he doesn't want to contract a printer, if he wants to come to a publisher, if he's lucky enough, if the manuscript is accepted by the publisher, at that point, the publisher will now do the editing, the formatting and everything, and then the printing as well. You understand? And then begin to sell and pay royalty. Then he cannot come and buy if he wants to. And still sell.
Okay.
Do you understand it?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Yes, I have another question again. Okay, let's talk about piracy.
Okay.
What challenges are you facing with piracy?
Brilliant
And
question.
how do you control it?
Yes.
Very brilliant question. Yes, that's one of the major challenges we are facing as publishers. And from experience, personally, I have found out that publishers are trying in their little capacity to curb piracy. But it looks as if they have become an institution, like a pest, feeding parts on publishers. Although piracy are also in some other sectors. Yes, They are there. They exist. They existed yesterday. They're existing now.
Today.
And they'll still exist tomorrow. But there's a body, the Nigerian Copyright Commission, that is helping publishers to curb their excesses. We are trying our best to ensure that they are gotten rid of completely. But the truth is that they have become an industry on their own. You understand? So as publishers, we are doing everything possible. We are working with the NCC. We are trying to put creative features on our books to make it look different. We're also working on our prices to make them competitive with other publishers. We are putting in several measures to ensure that we break the bonds of pirates, but truly they exist.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Caleb Akinmola, for honoring our invitation today and for feeding us with this amazing topic. You know, if we keep on talking about editorial, I don't think we'll finish. We'll keep on going and going on because there are many things that will keep coming out.
Yes.
So, but we thank you for bringing out your time.
And to all our listeners, we want to say thank you for starting with us from the beginning up till the end. Thank you so much. We want you to stay tuned to Beyond the Pages podcast from Accessible Publishers Limited. Thank you.
And before we go, we would like you to follow us on our social media pages. We are active, we are online on Facebook, on Instagram. We are Accessible Publishers Limited. On Twitter, you can find us at Accessible PL. Then we're also on TikTok, we're on YouTube as Accessible Publishers. Check out our website. We go by www.accessiblepublishers.com. So till next time, tune in to Beyond the Pages. See you.